That brings us to CM Punk this week. He made it official that he'll be on Monday Night Raw. And here's a question. We'll start with his obvious decision to go, or WWE's decision to place him on a show. We talked about this before about currently the brand extension going on right now, and how obviously there's NXT, there's Raw, there's SmackDown. But the best part about the brand extension is the fact that nobody's really making a big point about the differences in the shows, and or no one's essentially making them teams. Brandon, let me ask you, are you on a team any show?
No, not at all. I am not at any team, any show.
Is anybody?
I mean, maybe. I mean, there might be pockets of the audience that don't really care for NXT, or there might be pockets of the audience that just love NXT. I mean, that's
okay. Well, you're. I guess we're talking NXT, right? We're talking developmental versus regular, but I mean Raw versus SmackDown.
No,
right? If Raw or
wrong.
SmackDown are coming to your town, are you going because it's coming to your town, or are you coming because it's Raw or SmackDown?
I would if it doesn't matter which show's coming to town.
Exactly.
It's WWE, it's the WWE umbrella, and here's the thing. We talked about it. We talked about it last week with the whole brand extension. It really doesn't matter which show you're getting, whether it's SmackDown or Raw. When they come to your town, you're still getting a very quality card most of the time. You're getting a lot of great wrestlers, so it doesn't really matter.
That's why I bring this up, because if you were following CM Punk the last week, right, when he was on Monday Night Raw this past week making his decision. He was on NXT over the weekend at the pay-per-view event, and he was on SmackDown last Friday night. And one thing that kind of fell flat, I guess, is the idea that he was pandering to the crowd and saying, where should I sign? And it's kind of funny because, again, the crowd that is in front of you is only in front of you today. It is not a city that, Raw isn't in Cleveland every week. SmackDown's not in Boston every week. You're not, tying yourself to one place. So when you're on SmackDown, right, and you're pandering to the crowd, should I stay on SmackDown or should I sign Raw? It doesn't matter to them. You're there right now. It's cool for them that they're seeing you right now. Your future on SmackDown, like the following weeks, do not matter to them because they're there now, right? It would be like if I'm going to a Yankees game. It's the only time I'm going to see the Yankees, and you're saying, should I stay on the Yankees? So I can perform in front of you? You're performing in front of me now, and next week I'm not going to be here. So it doesn't really make a difference to me. And like you said, you watch both shows. Yeah. So it was just kind of weird that he was using that
But I get
showing
it,
up on NXT telling the Bridgeport, Connecticut crowd, should I come to NXT? They're there because WWE's in Bridgeport, Connecticut. They're not NXT fans.
Well, here's the thing, though. The thing that I'll point out too. Yeah, I get your point with the crowd being there in the moment. That 100% agree with you on that. But the reason why they're doing it the way that they're doing it is to build television. That's what it is. It's all built. It's building the story for television. So what they're really doing is they're gonna have him appear in every show, get a little pop on the ratings and this and that. And then, it's going to drag things out a little bit because obviously he's not going to wrestle on night one. He hasn't wrestled yet. He's been here since Survivor Series and hasn't wrestled. He's not wrestling until the end of the month when he's facing Dominic Mysterio, of all guys, in 2 live shows, or 2 house shows. So it's to me they're drawing it out, but they're creating interest and buzz for the television audience, where they're like, okay, so CM Punk's on Raw right now. He was on SmackDown. He was at NXT. So it's like, where is he really going to go? Now, everybody knew he wasn't going to NXT to wrestle. I think that was kind of an obvious thing. We all knew it was going to be Raw or SmackDown. But what I've liked about him going to NXT, and it's been well documented since he's been back, he's been at the Performance Center, so he's been at the PC. He's actively working with the younger talent and sitting there and critiquing them and helping them give advice. Like he's playing the good guy right now. Like he's doing what a veteran's supposed to do, which is watch matches, give feedback. He's been in the business forever, as long as I can remember. So when a guy like CM Punk is sitting there in Gorilla watching matches, or he's behind hard cam and he's watching the match, or even the promos, because obviously he can wrestle, he can promo, he's one of the best at both. That's why he's the best in the world. It's cool because he can do those type of things to help the younger talent, which is only going to make wrestling better as a whole. Because like a Roxanne Perez, like she's in her early 20s. and she gets to pick the brain of CM Punk. Like, how cool is that? Like, that's going to get her ahead of the game as she gets older, and she's going to be hitting her stride in the main roster in the next couple years, and she's going to act like she's been there 15 years because she's learning from somebody like CM Punk. So for me, like, the whole thing with NXT, that was just to get a pop for the NXT audience. Maybe there's a But here's the thing.
We'll get to the NXT thing in a second about it being an NXT.
But really quick,
I guess the whole idea of him being like, hey, do you want me to stay on NXT? Do you want me to stay on SmackDown? And the crowd just like, well, why would I care? If I was at Raw and he showed up and said, do you want me to sign with Raw? I don't care.
But here's the thing. The point is though, the reason why I like the fact he was there is he's helping the younger talent. I knew he wasn't going to be a on the roster for each. It's more so he's helping the younger generation. That's why I like it.
I understand that. I'm not debating why he showed up at any of the shows. I'm just debating specifically within the promos themselves about him essentially being like, should I stay here? Should I go to Raw? Like getting people on SmackDown to essentially, like when he says, should I sign to Raw? Get him like, boo. And then should I sign to SmackDown? Yay. Like, why would anybody care? I've gone to SmackDown in Wilkes-Barre because it was in Wilkes-Barre. I've gone to Raw in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania because it was in Wilkes-Barre. I don't care which show you sign on. Like in Bridgeport, Connecticut, I think a large group of those people were at the show because they like NXT, but also because they're in Bridgeport, Connecticut. So if you sign to NXT, that is not going to make the crowd in Bridgeport, Connecticut go wild, or it's just kind of strange in that he was doing that as like, oh, should I sign to Raw? Should I sign to showing up on all the shows is great and kind of talking about the benefits of maybe being on each of those shows. I think that would have been a better kind of promo. Him coming, but
it reintroduces CM Punk to the audience because let's be honest, there are pockets of fans I know there is that watch strictly Raw, strictly NXT, or strictly SmackDown. So getting CM Punk to go to all three shows is good because you're getting him exposed. Yeah,
absolutely. It's a good. I think him being on the shows was fine. Him being on the shows and promoting the shows. I'm like I said, specifically to the whole part of the promo on any of those shows where he would do like, weird. If you remember, like Vince McMahon, for example, right? When he bought WCW, the very first night, he was like he was talking to the crowd a little bit about the WCW stars. Should he sign these guys? Booker T, yes. Booker T, no. Scott Steiner, yes. Scott Steiner, no. Like trying to get a feel for the crowd. That in the sense of like would be different because those fans could show reactions to those people and they could come to WWE. But CM Punk being on SmackDown going, should I go to Raw? Thumbs up. Should I go to Raw? Thumbs down. Like, I don't know why anyone would care.
It was more for TV.
Just be, hey, I'm here on SmackDown. Hey, and I want to let you know if I stay on SmackDown, and maybe even what he could have had on each of those shows, which he did not. He could have had someone come out, kind of do that. Well, if you come to SmackDown, me and you, like let's say SmackDown, right? Who's on SmackDown?
LA Knight.
LA Knight, boom, LA Knight come out, look him in the face and go, if you stay on SmackDown, this could be possible. And that's it. You don't have to ask the crowd if I should stay on SmackDown because SmackDown is a traveling show. So the fans in wherever SmackDown was, Providence this week, right? Should I come to SmackDown? The fans in Providence go, you should come whichever brand is going to be in Providence next. That's where you should come so we can see you here again. And whole thing of, well, if I come to SmackDown, you'll be able to see me on SmackDown. No, they won't, because SmackDown goes away somewhere next week. Providence fans are happy you're here now. They're glad they're seeing you now. If you're on SmackDown next week, is irregardless to the people who are in Providence, Rhode Island. And the same with NXT. That would have been great if he came out instead of saying, should I stay at NXT? Those are, maybe, where that would have probably maybe worked if they were in Florida, because that is actually a group that is the same crowd every single week. So if he says, should I stay on NXT? That fans would have been rabid because it's a yes, because we are going to see you again. We want you to stay in this arena kind of thing. But talking about the NXT thing you're talking about, and some of the things that I've been reading about recently about him, obviously in the Performance Center, is his desire to be the next Shawn Michaels, essentially the booker of NXT currently. What do you make of that? Are you hoping to see CM Punk? Maybe he just got back, kind of already sidestep, kind of do that, late veteran sign to a sports team where he's really going to be there to mentor more than he is going to be to compete? What do you think about that?
I mean, I think that's a valid point. I feel like that's probably where he's going to be at. I would be surprised if he wrestles every Monday night, or 3 out of 4 out of the four, on a normal month you get 4 Raws a month. I don't see him wrestling 3 out of 4 a month. He might wrestle 1 or 2 a month. I think you're right. That's the perfect analogy. It's like, at the end of a football season, because we're in that time of year, there's guys that are getting cut by their teams, and it's like, oh, this guy's been in the league 10 years. We got some young players that could really use his mentality and all that. So yeah, I get that part of it. So that's a good point. I will say though, now that you brought that up, I hope he's not playing nice to get to that chair and then become a dink again. Like, that's what I'm hoping doesn't happen, because we all know how CM Punk is. He's a very strong personality. You either love him or you hate him. That's I'm not going to debate that, because I know a lot of people that don't want him in WWE. I have a lot of friends that are fans. They don't want him there. I'm happy he's back, because it's good for wrestling. I'm a wrestling fan. So for CM Punk, I think he needs to show for a bit, like, how he's changed, like he's evolved. Like, all the reports right now, early on the last couple weeks, great, he's doing great. Even people that were hesitant to even have him back in WWE, other wrestlers, they're like, yeah, he seems good right now. But that's only for a couple weeks. He played nice in AEW for a little bit, and look what happened. Like, I don't want to see that be a thing in WWE. So I feel like, to Seth Rollins' point, this is his last chance, so he can't screw this up. But at the same time, let's see how he does in the ring. Let's see how he mentors, and then maybe down the line, if he's still in a good mindset, he's doing the right thing, he's not being a dink, then maybe he's the next in line for when Shawn Michaels hangs it up. Shawn Michaels is not a young man anymore. Shawn Michaels, let's be honest, he could be close to retiring anytime.
I mean, I know we've seen him a lot, but I mean, did you see him at NXT? Woo. I mean, I guess I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube and Peacock and WWE Network, where I watch a lot of old Shawn Michaels matches. Just like every other wrestling fan, I watch a lot of old stuff, watch documentaries about the past, old matches, old Raws, and to see Shawn Michaels currently, I mean, it is really like, it isn't like Jennifer Lopez or John Stamos, where you're like, man, it looks like they haven't aged a day.
Well, yeah,
Shawn Michaels, you cannot say that about.
No, he's not like a Salma Hayek who like has gotten better with age,
Undertaker. Yeah, he has aged a little bit, right? Since especially the early 90s. I mean, but to be honest with you, Undertaker now and the Undertaker in 2008, 2005, not too drastically different visually. But yeah, Shawn Michaels is definitely does not look like we're used to Shawn Michaels looking, I guess. But, obviously too, the persona that he had, and he's obviously not quote unquote in that character anymore.
Yeah.
While the Undertaker was always a slow moving kind of character. So he never was like a backflip off the top rope kind of guy.
Yeah.
So it's all right that he can't do that now. And then even like Stone Cold, Stone Cold is one of those kind of guys. He doesn't age too bad himself. He still looks.
Well, let's be honest. I'm going to be straight with you on this one. I think anybody like a Bobby Lashley, for example, I feel like anybody that doesn't have hair, like bald guys, like if you're like in the business for so long and you've always been bald for a good portion of your career, and then as you get older, you're still bald. And like, to me, I feel like you don't age as much. Like, Stone Cold still looks pretty good. Bobby Lashley looks pretty good. To me, I feel like, different wrestlers age more, because maybe like Triple H, he had that long mane of hair, and then he's like bald guy now. It's like, to me he looks older.
Speaking of Triple H, one thing that really set me back, I watched the Survivor Series press conference, and yes, obviously leather jacket, ass kicker, like don't want to see him in an alley, that kind of guy. And I'm seeing him at the press conference pull out like reading glasses, and it was like,
I know.
Wow. It's one thing again if he was a glasses wearing guy all the time, but he like pulls them out of his breast pocket, And he has him like on the edge of his nose, to specifically read like you're used to seeing an old man or an old grandmother, look down at something and kind of adjust the glasses. It was
like this, yeah.
Yeah. It was quite the eye opener from the Triple H we saw at Madison Square Garden in like 2002, coming back from injury with the jean jacket with the leather sleeves and stuff like that. I think too, also, you just made the point about how, being bald, it doesn't age you if you're always bald. So, if you're watching on YouTube right now, I don't know, Brandon, if you're trying to start this statement here yourself by having this incredibly short haircut that I think is the shortest I've seen you ever have.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's something you're trying to do yourself and get that narrative out there.
Well, to be flat out, I like having short hair for maintenance purposes because it's easy for me to, if I want to roll out of the bed, it's not like I have to do my hair and everything. And yes, as we get older, it runs in the family. So I'm like, you know what? I might as well get ahead of the curve and just buzz it. And plus, by the way, it saves me trips to going to the barbershop. I can just get it buzzed for nothing instead of paying, $25-$30.
I mean, I'll probably pay more than that as well because when I start to have any of that baldness, I'm going for that treatment stuff. But because I'm not giving into that. But no. That's just I just have that mentality.
So you want to have the mane forever. You want to have the hair forever, right?
Yeah, I'm Vince. I'm going the Vince route.
So so those hair treatment plans that you see on the infomercials, those
are for me if need be. Yeah.
What about grays then?
Also, I mean, I guess someday maybe I'll cave into those as well, but for the time being, I'm getting those out of the way.
I don't know if you can see it on camera. I know it's kind of hard to see it on camera, but I definitely have a lot more grays than I did when we started this show back in 2017. You know what? Like for me, as I'm getting older, I'm like, you know what? I embrace it. So you're going to be the guy with the long mane hair and with the perfect color and everything. And then you're going to have me with no hair and a gray beard.
I was going to say, I don't know about perfect color, because that's the thing. It does a lot of times not look natural when you do it, especially if you are, you don't do it every so often. You literally, that is a difficult part. You know what I mean? Because you get a little lazy.
Edge. Remember when Edge came back to WWE, like they made him like use like Just for Men. It's like,
yes,
like, they did that. I'm like, it doesn't look natural. Like let that baby fly. Like I think he looks better like as he is now. Obviously, as Adam Copeland at AEW, where he just looks like himself.
I don't know if you saw him recently at the premiere for this movie where he looked completely different than I think it was Percy Jackson or something, some superhero movie, where he's wearing like a purple suit with a purple hat with like a feather in it. It's quite the look of Edge that you've never seen before. So check that out if you get a chance.
So he looks like the Godfather? Is that what you're saying?
He does look he looks like the Edge father. Yeah, the rated R father there going on there. Staying on CM Punk, we talked a little bit about obviously his match, his first one in WWE coming back. What do you make of obviously the tour after Christmas? They're going on the big tour they do every single year where they hit up every major city, in like 5 nights in a row. CM Punk versus Dominic Mysterio. What do you make of that match, and what do you make of the idea of his first match being non-televised?
I think it's cool. And by the way, really quick, I do like the fact that WWE is reportedly, and it seems like it because of the schedule, they're actually giving people the time off for the holidays. So kudos to WWE for that for Christmas. So just want to give them some love for that one.
Well, you saying that quickly, I will say that WWE, yes, they are giving them the time off, but it is not extraordinarily out of nowhere, meaning that this isn't something they've never done before. So Christmas this year is going to run on a Monday, right? So they're giving them essentially Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, that's the days off. But I feel like Christmas has fallen on a Sunday before, right? And, Monday Night Raw, the tape the past week, and then they get the rest of the week off. Or I think back in the day, SmackDown would tape on a Tuesday, and then they get the rest of the week off. Sometimes they do like a double taping of SmackDown or whatever it is. So the whole having like 6 days off in a row is not crazy. Now, what would have been crazy to me, or at that perk you're talking about, where it would have seemed like good for you, would have been the fact that they don't have them doing double house shows starting the 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th. Yeah. So to be honest with you, WWE isn't really giving them the time off because they're making them make it up, right? When do you have a house show on a Monday and a Tuesday? You never do, right? So the fact that they say, "Oh, we don't got house shows on Friday, Saturday, Sunday," well, yeah, those are Christmas Eve,
But hey,
the day
they're
before Christmas
they're
Eve.
still giving them time. I mean,
Yeah, they're
I
giving
get
them
it.
time, but then they're taking it right back because they're saying, "Hey, you know how you didn't have Friday Night SmackDown this week?" You go, "Yeah, well, you got a Tuesday night house show and a Wednesday
Well,
night house show and a Thursday night
speaking
house
of
show."
that, and
So,
going back to CM Punk and Dominic Mysterio, I think there's a couple things that I would say to that. So I think it's cool for Dominic Mysterio because that's like the ultimate like thing, like first match for CM Punk, whether it's televised or not. He's going to be working with CM Punk, so this is a great honor for Dominic Mysterio, and that tells me two things: CM Punk is looking forward to working with Dominic, and number two, WWE is very high on Dominic to get CM Punk in and out of those matches safely and soundly and ready to roll, and also get him ready and tuned up for when he shows up on television for a match. So the reason why they're doing it is they want to work out the kinks, make sure he knocks some of the rust off, make sure he's good to go for when it's a premium live event or a Raw. So like I get that part of it, but I like the fact that it's Dominic Mysterio because Dominic gets to work with somebody as great as CM Punk is. Like he's the best in the world. That's his moniker. That's somebody you can learn from. And Dominic, he has his father, Rey Mysterio. We get that. But it's good to have other, veterans show you the way because maybe Rey's way of doing things is not exactly what Dominic wants to do. So maybe he learns some things with CM Punk. He's working with Finn Balor. He's working with Rhea Ripley, obviously. So like this is good for Dominic Mysterio. Like, these guys from Judgment Day, they're all veterans except for him. Even JD McDonough has been around the block a bit. So like it's good for Dominic Mysterio, and I think this just shows you how much WWE has stock in this kid. So good on them, and I'm looking forward to it. I believe the first one is what, at MSG?
MSG, December 26th, and then the other one advertised is the Kia Forum in LA. I think on December 30th, going up against AEW's pay-per-view. But I don't think that makes too much of a difference, right? Because one's not a televised event. But hey, maybe it's getting some people who might have stayed home to watch AEW's pay-per-view because, hey, you got some AEW fans out there in LA because the last pay-per-view was at the Kia Forum. So some of those fans who might have wanted to watch this upcoming one on TV is going to head out to that live event because there's something special. To be honest with you, I mean, that is kind of a thing, right? I mean, if there's a pay-per-view going on, AEW, WWE, and, there's a WWE house show, right, going on at the same time, I'm probably watching the pay-per-view. A good example was this past weekend, right? I had some other plans regardless, but I think if I didn't have those other plans, I don't think I was going to head to Utica, New York to watch the house show at the same time of the NXT pay-per-view. And NXT is one of those ones that isn't as big of a deal, right, as a main roster thing. But I think if it was like a WWE major pay-per-view, like Payback, and there was the house show in Utica, then it'd really be like pretty much a no question that I'm not hitting up that house show to see some matches. So, they are taking, I guess, a few eyeballs to go to the Kia Forum, which, yeah, I mean, that's great. And I'll be honest with you, not just specifically with CM Punk, WWE needs to do more of these things in where house shows have that special quality to them. I am the biggest component of house shows not having championship matches, not just having stupid tag team title. Like, I want to go and see something there that you're going to see not on television. Yeah, you get to see a lot of things you don't get to see on television because it's the fact that TV is more segment oriented, right? But I just want to see those one-off matches, right? If the championship's on the line, a lot of times they just give us pay-per-view retreads, right? They're going to give us, at probably heading into WrestleMania, right? We're going to get a lot of Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes, right? Or Seth Rollins versus CM Punk, if that's the match, right? Or something like that. Give us these one-off matches we're not going to see a lot of, right? CM Punk versus Dominic Mysterio probably isn't a storyline match we're going to see a lot of in the future. And give us a lot of those weird, quirky matchups you're not going to see. In fact, a lot of these pay-per-views these house shows are dual branded, right? Where it's just a mix of people. Give us these inter-brand matches. Give us Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley at a house show in Utica, New York. just randomly, right? No title needs to be on the line, so we don't necessarily know who's going to win. We don't need it to be for a title where we know, well, Charlotte's not going over to Raw, so we already know the result. No, give us Rhea, give us Charlotte, give us no title on the line, give us just a one-on-one match where Charlotte can beat her on Tuesday, Rhea can beat her on Wednesday. It's a match we don't see very often. Give us that special. That's what house shows need to do more of.
Yeah, I agree with you, and we are in lockstep when it comes to the title matches on these house shows, because you're tipping your hand. It's either okay, the champion's gonna go over, obviously, or it's gonna be like some stupid DQ or something. Like to me, that's why I personally don't like going to house shows. I probably will go more to them in the next few years as my kids get older, because to me, I've always thought house shows, the way that they're put together currently, it's for the kids. It's for an experience for the kids. For us, like you and I, wrestling fans that are adults, we want to see storylines. We wanted to see good matches. We don't want to have to be like, oh, well, we already know Charlotte's not going to win this match. Like, we just want to go enjoy the show.
I'm more interested if they were advertising CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, which is obviously the match we're talking about going towards WrestleMania, the big thing right now in the world of wrestling, right? If that was the big advertised match, I would definitely steer away from that. I'm glad it's CM Punk versus Dominic Mysterio. I'm glad that it's matches that probably CM Punk's going to win, but it's not just the championship's on the line to always make it so that we know 100% where this is going. A couple house shows I went to, last year, I think I went to 2 house shows that had identical main event matches, and it was Austin Theory versus Seth Rollins for the U.S. Championship. And that would be great main event for both of those house shows. If the U.S. title wasn't on the line, Seth Rollins could have won one of the days. Austin Theory could have won another one of the days. You don't have to have the same finish. You can switch finishes every single night. You can go to 5 house shows in a row. It's like going to a concert where it's going to be the same set list every single night versus a concert where you say, I want to see them 2 nights in a row because tomorrow they're going to play the songs they didn't play tonight, that kind of thing. And I think WWE should do more of that. No championships on the line, just matches that are just maybe even made day of, right? Hey, we're going to announce Austin Theory versus Seth Rollins randomly. You can do it right now at a house show. One's on Raw, one's on SmackDown, one's a champion. Forget the championship. It's just a one-time match. Who knows who's going to win? Maybe Austin Theory will win at the Kia Forum. Seth Rollins will win at MSG. Just good, unique things for house shows. You got to do more of that. And my question to you to finish up the CM Punk talk, I guess. Do you see CM Punk wrestling a match on television before the Rumble?
No, I do not. I think he's going to be doing house shows. I think they're going to have him doing house shows. I think they want to make it for the television audience. I think they want to make it an attraction. So I feel like his first match will be at the Royal Rumble, in the Royal Rumble match itself, because obviously he just declared for it on Raw this past week. So for me, that's where I'm at. I mean, where do you fall in line? Are you with me, or are you on the opposite side of the fence?
No, I don't necessarily know his house show schedule, but yeah, I feel like the way that they're building him up, and obviously the Royal Rumble is not too far away, that I think we're just going to wait off to the Rumble. Similar to Cody Rhodes' return last year, even though we know about the return of, CM Punk, he's currently there, and we knew a little bit about the return of Cody last year because they announced it, right? We're going to wait till the Rumble, though, for that kind of moment. So, I mean, we already know kind of where obviously things are building towards in all the pay-per-view world. But yeah, I don't see CM Punk just having a meaningless match against the Viking Raiders on Monday Night Raw. I think it's probably going to be segment induced.